Welcome to the Single Leg Parlay NFL Week 8 preview podcast. I'm Al. That's Andy. That's Matt. We're going to chug a beer, and then we're going to talk some football. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, if you're not familiar with our preview podcast, we essentially look at the top matchups, the games we like the most this week, bullshit about those for a little bit, and then give you our best bets. We're going to try and cap this one at a tight 20 minutes. We also recorded a NFL review, Week 7 review podcast, as well as the college football review and preview podcast. So if you're into college football, check those out. SingleLegParlay.com, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find those as well. So let's jump into Week 8. We're almost halfway through the season, boys. Can you believe it? That is crazy.
No, I don't want it to end. Yeah. I hope we need 24 games.
Yeah, yes. That sounds nice. Sell your soul and your body to the fans, NFL athletes.
We'll give you 3 buys.
I feel like you'd have to expand the league if we had 24 games.
Yeah, you can't play everybody or most everybody.
All right, let's start with Danny is not on here, but he put Bears Commanders on here, which if you were to ask someone 2 months ago about that matchup and if it was going to be a top matchup or a matchup anyone gave a shit about, you'd probably get laughed at. But Caleb Williams has looked pretty decent with the Bears. That Bears defense is still as potent as ever. And Jaden Daniels, who I think is not going to be playing in this one, has really single-handedly turned this Commanders team into must-see TV. Marcus Mariota came in his stead. I believe Daniels is out or is week to week with a rib injury. So that means to me he's at least missing this game and possibly the following one. So we're left with Marcus Mariota this week, but I still think this could be a good game. Andy, you got any thoughts about it?
Yeah, I really wish Daniels was playing. I don't think he's officially been ruled out yet, but I would be surprised if he plays, which is a shame because 1-2 picks in the draft, but going up against each other would just be a ton of fun. But like you said, Mariota looked okay. So.
Yeah, I think the way that this line, I think the line is Bears by 2.5. I think this would not be a Bears by 2.5 line if they expected Daniels to play. And I think again, when you refer to someone as week to week, that is, without saying it, you're essentially saying they're not playing this week. That's how I read it. I don't know. Matt, do you have any thoughts on this one before we move on to the next matchup?
No, I think the game sounds awesome, right? I wish Jaden Daniels was playing. I don't have a feel on the bet, on the actual spread of the game, but I think the Commanders are in an interesting position because they can keep Philly and Dallas at their heels a little bit if they can pull off a win here. So I'll be interested to see the emphasis here for the Commanders. Even with Marcus Mariota, I do think they have the capacity to win this game because they look good, right? They look really, really good. And we'll see how Caleb Williams evolves as the season goes on. He's gotten so much better from week 1 or week 2. Can that continue? And can we see an upward trajectory the whole season? And most likely will be peaks and valleys. But where those peaks come and where those valleys come is going to be hugely important to Chicago going forward. And a very tough NFC North.
Yeah, I actually think I'm going to bet the Bears. I didn't have a play in this game, but talking about this makes me realize I think the Bears defense versus the Commanders defense, I don't think you get two more drastically different units. The Commanders defense is porous. So I think that's a perfect thing for Caleb Williams out of the bye to be up against, and a Marcus Mariota backup situation against that Bears defense is probably trouble for the Commanders. But I think that's enough talking about that game. We got some better ones to look at. I'm going to go, let's get to Andy. You got Bills Seahawks as your favorite game here this week?
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting one. Both teams have been a little bit up and down. The Bills looked bad up until last week, and then they kind of seemed to find it again. But can they keep that going, flying all the way across the country out to Seattle? You guys know how I feel about Geno Smith. His first year as a starter there in Seattle, I bet against him every week until I ran out of money and I had to stop. But he's okay, I guess. So Bills Seahawks, I'm just interested to watch.
Yeah, it's I keep hearing that the Bills are bad or they're not as good as they have been. They're still 5-2. I think they're right on pace to be as good as they have been, and I honestly think it's pretty impressive, given the turnover they've had on both sides of the ball in the offseason. So, yeah, I don't know. I think the Bills are going to be good, are good already. I do think going into Lumen Field in Seattle and playing this Seahawks team with Geno Smith, who he's probably the most underrated quarterback playing currently, I think, right? Like, he's legitimately really good, and I think a lot of people look him over. I think DK Metcalf is banged up for this one, so I'm not sure if he'll be playing. He might be playing, so that's one thing to keep an eye on. Not sure if I love a Seahawks offense without DK in it. But yeah, I think that's going to be a good one too. That feels like one that should be like a primetime game and not whenever it's being played.
Yeah, real quick, while we're talking about the Bills, in the last week, there have been 3 like blockbuster receiver trades. I feel like that's rare. Like, I can't remember another season where that's happened. Can you guys? Am I like just not remembering, or?
Well, I was actually thinking today about how dumb it feels like the where the trade deadline is in the NFL. Like, a lot of leagues, it's later in the season where there's clear sellers and buyers, and it facilitates more action on the deadline days. In the NFL, it's still just under 2 weeks away. I think it's the Tuesday after next or something like that. It's the trade deadline, and it's like, you still have teams that are on the fence. Do they want to sell? Do they want to buy? They're not really like committed, and so it kind of keeps trades under wraps. But I do, to your point, Amari Cooper got traded, DeAndre Hopkins got traded, and who else?
Devontae Adams.
Oh yeah. So I mean,
those are the 3 big ones.
I don't think that happens very often in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll be curious. Buffalo has the best point differential in the AFC. So all this talk about, well, Buffalo isn't doing that great. They're plus 63. It's pretty damn good. So the defense is there. If Cooper integrates well with Coleman and Shakir and the rest of that offense, they're going to be pretty formidable. I mean, I'd almost put them as the favorite in the AFC right now. I know Kansas City 6-0. They went into San Francisco and won. That's great. Patrick Mahomes doesn't look right. I'll be the first to say it if you haven't heard it yet. Something doesn't look right at all. Like, that offense has been pretty poor for them. Now, if Hopkins is great, maybe that's what he needs. But I think Buffalo looks like the cream of the crop so far the first 7 weeks.
I fully support that. I think the Chiefs are the most fraudulent 6-0 team we've had in a while. They could easily have a losing record right now, and it pisses me off because their schedule from here gets super easy. I'm gonna pull it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure they have like cupcakes galore the next 6 weeks. This course going slow. They've got Raiders, and then they play the Bucks, which the Bucks are good, but then they play the Broncos, the Bills, then they play the Panthers, Raiders, Chargers, Browns. There's not very many losses coming up here. They've got essentially the Bills is the only losable game on here if they're playing well. But I don't know. It feels to me like they're going to have an easy road to the 1 seed in the AFC, and then they're going to get bounced by an actually good team that's been battle tested, like Baltimore. That's going to be a great rematch. I hope we get it.
Yep.
So I'm going to give you one game I like this week. It's actually Thursday Night Football. So if you're listening to this, it'll probably be tonight or have already happened, depending on how quickly we get this posted. But Vikings and the Rams, I think, has the potential to be a really good game. I think the Rams are up against it. They know they've got to start stringing wins together. The Vikings maybe got figured out a little bit by the Lions last week. And the Rams are the perfect team to take elements that the Lions used to mitigate the Vikings defense and implement those on offense, while also, maybe having a couple ideas on how to, bait Sam Darnold into making some bad throws. So I also saw, I don't know if this is like actually substantial rumors, but I mentioned Stafford potentially being traded. I think one of the interested teams was the Vikings. So
Yeah, I saw that.
Darnold for Stafford, which that would be interesting. But I just think that could be a good matchup.
Yeah, I like it too. I think it's interesting to see where the Rams go from here, right? Because they're the bottom of the NFC West right now. So do they pack it in, or are they going to try to show some fight? Because I forgot the Rams. Snead famously said, "Fuck those draft picks," but that shit looks like it's coming back to haunt him a little bit. Now you can't do anything about the injuries, but it looks like they could probably use some better young depth. And
it's such a good point too, because with Aiden Hutchinson breaking his leg, it's like every talking head and every Lions fan is saying, go out and, fuck those draft picks, trade them, go get Max Crosby, give them whatever it takes. And it's like, bro, like, do you not see the Rams over here? Like, I don't want a team that like goes all in for one shot at a Super Bowl. I want a team that's going to perennially be in it.
But if you win that Super Bowl, it's pretty fucking sweet.
Right?
Yeah, it's worth it.
Because you could also be the Dolphins and have a shitty roster and no depth and no Super Bowls in the last 40 years.
Yeah. Matt, do you have a game you like this week?
Yeah, I got a couple. Philly at Cincinnati. This is a really interesting game to me, considering the standings. I don't think Cincinnati was as bad as their 0-3 start. I also don't know how good they are. Their defense has not been particularly strong this year, but Joe Burrow's good, right? Like, I know in my heart Joe Burrow's a good quarterback. So let's see how that progresses. Philly doesn't look as strong. They beat the Giants last week, who isn't beating the Giants at this point. But they're in a dogfight because Washington's playing well. So there's a lot of stakes in this game, right? It's a really interesting matchup for me. The other one, and I'll let you guys comment on either one of these, Arizona at Miami. Like, the narrative writes itself. Tua had the press conference last week saying, I'm not going to wear the Guardian hat. I'm not doing any of this stuff. He's like, I'm going to die playing this game, or I love it to death, or whatever he said, which we talked about being foreshadowing, sadly. But the Dolphins they're not out of the race even at 2-4, right? They have scored 70 points in 6 games, which is embarrassingly low. But that's a reflection of Tua being out. So if we get the wheels in the wagon start rolling again, what does that mean? Cardinals are in a similar situation. I think they're 3-3 or 3-4 in the NFC, but that NFC is weak right now. Seattle is leading, but okay, kind of. So can Kyler Murray do some special things? I think this is going to be – these two games have a lot of playoff implications because all of these teams are in a fight right now. None of them lead their division, but none of them are that far away. In an expanded 17 playoff, every one of these teams is very much alive if they get this game today or on Sunday.
Yeah, I think just to play fun with numbers here, to your point, you said the Dolphins only have scored 70 points this season. That is obviously the worst in the league. There are only 2 other teams that have scored less than 100 points this season. They both scored 99. Do you know which 2 teams those are?
I have a guess on one. I don't know the other. I'm guessing New York Giants are one of them because I've been betting the team unders.
The New York Jets are the other.
No, not the Jets. but
Panthers.
similar area, same division. The
The
Patriots.
Patriots?
Yeah.
Those are two really stinky offenses, and they're significantly better than what the Dolphins have put out for the past 4 weeks. And then just for to put a bow on that one, both the Commanders and Ravens have scored the most in the league, 218 points. So just 3 times as many points as Dolphins managed.
Yep, that sounds right. Everything you just said sounds right.
To go back to the Eagles-Bengals game, the Bengals, the offense is there. I think that it took them a while. I think they're clicking now, but it's still way too suspect of a defense for them to climb out of a 3-4 hole in a division.
In a good division.
That's going to be really hard to make any noise. So they're gonna firmly be in the wild card race, and like you said, no team's out of it yet, but that's a much harder way to make your way to a championship. So,
but let's consider the AFC really quick, right? You have the Bills, who I think we know are pretty good. The Chiefs are pretty good. Ravens are pretty good. And then let's say Texans for the sake of the AFC South. But if you look at the rest of the AFC wild card spots that are going to fill in, who the fuck scares you, right? Like the Steelers, the Steelers seem like, okay, that may be solid. But there's 2 spots available. I mean, I don't believe in the Colts at all. I don't believe in the Broncos at all. Like the teams that are leading. The AFC East is a catastrophe. Everyone has 2 wins or less. So I think Cincinnati is not out of it yet, right?
Correct.
This will be an interesting. It's going to be a really interesting picture in the AFC because there are 4 teams or 5 teams you can believe in to make the playoffs. And I don't even necessarily believe in Houston right now, but they're going to probably be the best team in the South. So just a lot of things to consider.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the Dolphins if Tua can stay healthy and play the whole season, which obviously large caveat there.
Who the fuck knows?
You've got the Steelers or Ravens, whoever doesn't win that division. And then you've got, like you said, the Colts, the Broncos, the Chargers, and then the Bengals. And you're talking about 3 spots between those 5.
2 spots. 2 spots.
There's 3 wild cards.
If you assume the Steelers will probably get one.
Right, yeah. So given the second spot. So 2 spots between the Dolphins, Bengals, Colts, Broncos, and Chargers, essentially.
So it's very much alive. That's where these games are going to really matter, right? Because if the Dolphins lose this game and drop to 2-5, it's probably show's over, right? Because you got to start winning some of these games, especially when you can.
Well, especially with it being against the Cardinals, right? That's the team that if you're going to make the playoffs, you need to beat that team.
Exactly.
The only other game I think that's worth pointing out is the Falcons-Bucks. I know the Bucks lost 2 top receivers this past week, but they're at home. It's a division game. I think the winner of this game probably wins that division. So it's going to be a fun one.
Loser leaves town game, huh?
I think so. Because the Falcons and Bucks already played, and I think the Falcons won in overtime. They came back in that fun one. So the Bucks really need this one if they're going to win the division, I think.
Okay.
Okay, let's get into some best bets. You guys have any plays you like, especially this week?
I don't like it, but I'll start us off. Okay. I have a hard and fast rule that when a team is at home and they are a 10-point or more dog, I usually play that. Oh, so you got Kansas City rolling into town against Las Vegas. Las Vegas has not been good. I don't want you to think that this is a quality opponent kind of matchup, but something I always do. So Vegas plus 10 against the Chiefs. Feels bad coming out of my mouth, but 10 points is a lot. If it hits 10.5 or 11, I really like. I
have the same thing. I like a double-digit dog in a division game, which is what this is. So I'm on board with it. I support it. Raiders plus 10. Yeah.
So hold on to your butts because it ain't going to be a fun watch. But
it was hard for me to pick a play this week that I like the best out of all the ones that I have. Andy and I have plays in the same game. I think we both have the same 2 plays in the same game, but we picked different ones for our best bets. So, Andy, I'll let you go first with yours.
Yeah, I'm taking Tampa Bay and the points. I think it's 2.5. I'd love it if it hit 3, but I'll take 2.5. I know they lost the 2 receivers, but I just don't trust that Falcons team. I think Baker Mayfield finds a way to get it done, even without his weapons.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I guess there's plenty of time for the line to move still, but the fact that it hasn't moved early would indicate to me that smart people know that the Bucs are going to be in this one, even without their top receiver talent. They've got some talented guys that just need to step up. I think Jalen McMillan, Josh Palmer, I think. So they still have talent at the receiver position, but it's unproven talent. You know, they still have a double-headed monster in the backfield in Bucky Irving and Rashad White and tight end Cade Otton. So they've still got tools there. It's just going to be tough sledding as season long, but I think they can show up against at home against the Falcons and make that a competitive game, if not win it outright. And so my best bet is actually on the over in that game, over 46. I think these teams combined for like 80 points when they played on that overtime game. So it was a barn burner. I would not doubt that sort of thing happening again. Probably won't be quite as high, but 46 seems like a low number for these two.
I like that. Like you said, I'm on it as well. I just didn't pick it as my best bet.
Yeah. And that's really it. I wanted to kind of to do like a mid-season review on some teams, but I don't know if that's really worth diving into. Do you have anything you wanted to discuss?
I do think it's important to note that Danny does have a best bet here as well.
Yeah,
he likes the Broncos laying 8. I believe they're at home. Let me verify that. Yeah, they're at home versus Carolina. Yep. So, couple notes. Bryce Young is back because the Red Rifle sprained his thumb. I don't want to violate HIPAA rules by saying things incorrect. He sprained his thumb in a car accident, which is an important question. How do you think Red Rifle Andy Dalton drives? Are you a 10-2 guy? He's got to be 10-2, right?
Yeah, I think you get pulled over if you have red hair and you don't have 10-2.
And don't comply?
Yeah. Or he might do I don't know. Is he kind of Amish looking? Does he still have that beard? He might hold the wheel like horse rein.
Hold the reins a little bit?
Yeah.
I hope a horse wasn't hurt in this accident then.
Yeah. His family, he got rear-ended in that car accident, and it was the car that rear-ended his family carriage.
Wagon-on-wagon collisions are very dangerous. Everyone knows this.
Yeah, or the horses get tangled.
Yeah.
People got blinders
too much horsepower. That's bad. I'm sorry. But he likes the Broncos at home because Bryce Young, and I can't.
This is for sure like Bryce Young's last shot, right? Like this is his last good shot to show that he has it in this league. And he's not having to step in blind like mid game. Like he knows he's got a few days to prep, and like this, for all intents and purposes, this is his last shot. I think
I don't know about that. Coached. I think he'll end up on a roster somewhere for a while, and so other injuries could.
Yeah, but that's essentially quarterback death, right? Like his last shot at being like a starter in this league is showing that he has it this week.
I think the last shot for a team to be like, we're going to go get him as a starter, or the Panthers to be like, yes, he's our guy. Yes, that is now. But if he's on a roster and the starter gets hurt, and he'll have other chances potentially to show, the Matt Castle model. But
one game, and you need to win this one game. Would you rather have Bryce Young or Tim Boyle starting?
Ooh.
It's important to know Tim Boyle's never won a game he started.
So give me the gun. Give me the gun. I'm not sure how many games Bryce Young has started.
Not many.
One?
Not many, but I think he's had to win one game.
Yeah. I guess it's got to be Bryce Young, but I sure don't feel good about it.
No, it feels awful. It feels super bad.
QB record is 2-16.
All right. 11% winning percentage is not bad.
You know,
Infinitely more wins than Tim Boyle.
It's undefined how many
Infinitely.
more wins he has.
Yeah.
They have the same amount of wins this year,
Oof,
assuming
nice.
Tim Boyle hasn't got anyone, right? Yeah.
Man, Bryce Young is bad. I kind of feel bad for Bryce Young. I don't feel bad for Tim Boyle at all. I feel like he's maximized everything he got out of the NFL. But Bryce Young, I kind of feel bad for him.
Tim Boyle's got that like Chase Daniel like luck, you know, like I don't know how he stayed in the league this long, being like as mediocre or subpar as he is. Bryce Young is like, God, he like he's not as bad as Ryan Leaf, right? He's not going to be like the biggest QB bust of all time, but he's got to be in that conversation. Like
Yeah, I think he's up
territory.
there. I think it feels bad considering CJ Stroud was drafted after him, right?
And everything they gave up to go get him, right? Like that wasn't their pick to begin with.
They could have had Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's better yet, but it feels better to this point.
It's already better. Caleb's got more
wins.
He's got twice as many wins as Bryce Young does in 6 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's bad. That stinks.
Yeah. All right. Any other parting thoughts before we wrap this thing up?
I think we did it.
Yeah.
All right. Good job, boys. Job well done. Thank you for listening to Single Leg Parlay. Rate, review, subscribe. Leave us kind thoughts. We like hearing good things. Make us feel good.
We hate hearing bad things.
Yeah, we don't want bad stuff. Give us the good stuff.
If you give us 1 star, I'm going to cry. Actually, don't do that because you may want to see me cry. We just don't like it. It's just not cool to give 1 star. You should give 5
we
stars.
We get angry at 1 star. We cry at 2 stars, but we like 5 stars. Go to singlelegparlay.com and subscribe. We'll send you our articles. You get our picks straight to your inbox. That way you can play them and make some money, hopefully. I think this is the week we're going to turn things around. I think I'm on like a dozen plays this week, which is like twice as many as I normally have. Nice. So, hell or high water, we're getting it done.
Captain goes down with the ship a lot of these scenarios too. So,
all right. Thanks for listening.
Cheers, boys.
Boy. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the newly rebranded Single Leg Parlay podcast. Visit our website at www.singlelegparlay.com, where you can read more of our thoughts, as well as subscribing to our newsletter to have our picks delivered straight to your inbox each week. And don't forget to follow Single Leg Parlay on all of your favorite social media platforms. Cheers!